And good evening. You're listening to Modern Mystic Radio. I'm your host, Sarah. I hope you're having a great start to the week. Just a quick reminder of how you can get hold of me outside of the show. You can visit my website, which is www.modern-mystic.co.uk, and you can find me on Facebook under Modern Mystic and Mystic Sarah. Now tonight I have a very special guest with me. He is an international soul guide light worker. He's also the owner of the Holistic Spiritual Practice College. He's a name vibration reader, advanced spirit guides, or animal spirit guide, should I say, an animal aspects reader. He's also an advanced future life progressionist and advanced past life regressionist. He's a psychic medium, kundalini activator, and he's read for celebrities all over the world. I'm just going to welcome in Ejay Soulguide. Hi Ejay, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Hi, Sarah.
Hi. Thank you very much for coming on to the show tonight.
No problem. My pleasure.
Now, I'm going to get straight in there. What is a soul guide worker?
Right. So a soul guide worker, most people say stuff of, when you have a human being having a spiritual experience. I don't believe you're actually having a spiritual experience. My work has taken me to realize that we're actually having a soul experience, because the spirit is the avatar of the soul, and the human body is the avatar of the spirit. The human body exists in a third dimension. It's like a satellite. It navigates on planet Earth and sends messages back up to the spirit, and the spirit sends it to the soul where it's banked. Because really what we're having here is, your soul could be thousands of years old. And of course, because your soul and your spirit are eternal, so is the information that's gathered every time you reincarnate and come back, either as male or female, Caucasian or African or Native American. It really is about what ultimately your soul is going to be at the end of its journey.
Oh, wow, fantastic. So tell us a little bit about how you got onto your spiritual journey.
Wow, that's kind of really, really interesting. I've always been spiritual. Ironically, I never actually knew I was. I used to say a lot of stuff, and I didn't know where the information necessary. It was more insightful, but it made a lot of sense. And my mother, she also she's passed on, was very spiritual. And she passed away, and a year after she passed away, things started opening up for me. It was just like an explosion. I would have a conversation with an individual, and suddenly I started seeing things and knowing things and feeling things and connecting, and it was really weird. It was really weird, because in my 20s, I used to have involuntary arm movements, especially when it was time to sleep. And I didn't know what that was. And I had, my arms were flailing all over the place, hitting myself in the chest, and I was freaking out. And at the time, I didn't know anything about psychics or mediums or anything, and there was nobody, not even my parents, could tell me what exactly was going on. It eventually stopped. It was only years and years later when someone said to me, what was happening is that spirit was attempting to connect to you. And, with most people, when that connection is happening, if you've only ever relied on your five senses, then this is really weird stuff. When the sixth sense kicks in, the third eye opens up, and you're going, am I losing my mind? And you can't tell anybody, because everybody knows, as far as you're concerned, you're normal, like all your other friends. You don't want to tell them, oh, yeah, when I go to people, when I went to sleep last night, I had this really lovely dream. And I go, when I went to sleep last night, my arms were all over the place, and I was bashing myself. And you can't really, and in those days, it wasn't cool to tell people stuff like that, so you kind of kept it to yourself. But certainly, after my mother passed, and ironically enough, my mum is one of my spirit guides. Yeah.
And so how did things progress from there? So you started off having these experiences, and obviously you've developed that into the types of readings that you do. How did you make that jump from just having psychic ability and passing on in an insightful way to actually sort of working with it?
Good question. I have a friend of mine that I met some years ago. Her name is Gina Batt, and she's been doing this for over 45 years. So, of course, I calmly went on the phone and said to her, Gina, damn it, I'm losing my mind. So I said, can you help me? And I spoke really slowly so she could understand me. I'm seeing all things, everything's happening, I don't know what's happening with me, everything's happening, I can't see. And so she said, certainly, yes, come up, EJ, and we will help you. And I went to see her, and she sat me down, and she took me through what she likes to call her psychic development course. And she took me through that process. And the wonderful thing about it was learning and understanding that I had the freedom to choose how to do this work. I was able to get my guardians in place, my tall walkers, my protectors, because there's certain things I wouldn't necessarily include in my work. I don't talk about whether someone's going to die. I don't do lottery numbers. I don't do gambling. I'm not really interested in any spirits or entities who are annoyed with a family member, has passed on and wants to come back and still berate the living. So, my guardians keep those away. Essentially, my work is about helping people to really find their truth, to find what is intrinsically, why did you come here? What is your sole purpose? Who are you? And normally in that kind of struggle, what tends to happen is if you're unaware of what your life purpose is, then you're going to have all sorts of conflicts, which you will call a problem, when in fact, most of the time, you've chosen these experiences because you want your growth, your elevation, or you're either repeating something you didn't complete last time, or you hadn't learned, or you want to learn something new. So we choose our experiences that we want to have here. And that's where my work comes in. It allows me to help an individual to truly understand that. In my readings, I don't give you what you need, I give you what you want. Because typically you have, the wrong answers to the right questions, and you really want to understand what's going on for you. So when I do my readings, Spirit will only give me what they feel you can handle. They will only give me what, is my boyfriend going to come back? Is my girlfriend going to come back? And Spirit might be saying, have you worked on yourself? Because once you answer that question, it will make sense as to why certain things are in your life. And once you've been able to truly understand, oh, really, so this is what I'm about, then you no longer want to know whether he or she is coming back. You most probably want to know, when am I going to meet that person on this level or this vibration? So, I love this work. I love it. It's great. It's great.
So tell us a little bit about name vibration readings.
Oh, yes. Now, the discovery of a name vibration. I'm part of a WhatsApp group called Kundalini Group. I got my Kundalini activated, and basically all the students got together and we were on this WhatsApp group. And I kind of stumbled on it by accident. Someone had said something that they hated their name. And I said, what's your name? And they told me, and for some reason I tuned into this name, and I was able to tell them so much stuff about who they are, whether or not that name was the correct vibration for them in order for their gifts to come through. You see, most people believe that life began the minute that they were born, when in fact there is more going on the other side than they are on this side of the veil. Yeah. And you leave your gifts. If you imagine you've reincarnated several times, you've logged, you've banked information about all your life experiences that you have, and you can actually, before coming into this life, especially if you're going to repeat certain gifts that you have, whether you're psychic or medium, an empath, clairvoyant, clairsentient, you can actually call in at some point in your existence when you want those gifts to come through for you again. Some are childhood, some are later on in life. So what happens is, to have a name is actually a spiritual experience, regardless of whether the person naming you is aware that that process is happening. And the reason you're given a name is because when you come into this world, you know, when babies are born, they are silent until they start crying. And then when they cry, they go, yeah, they start to cry. Now, the taking in of that breath is when spirit has entered the body. Spirit doesn't actually enter the body of a child when it's in the womb. It actually enters the body the minute the child is born, and it takes its first breath. And when you give the baby a name, it is a signpost which allows the data from your previous experience to now locate you. And it will start to download into the child. This is why, if you take an example of a Michael Jackson when he was 6 years old and he was dancing and singing, people say, this is like someone who's been here before. Well, of course, he had been here before. And he had those gifts before, and they'd come in at an earlier age. So the name vibration is very, very important. Some people have lots of names, and having lots of names can create challenges, because if your names or different names are vibrating on different frequencies, then the blessings that come to you become dissipated. So, for instance, I'm Ejay Soulguide. Because I'm Ejay Soulguide, and my other name on my birth certificate is John. But John has a very low vibration for me. If I decide to call myself John, it will be unlikely that I'll be able to do this work. But with Ejay Soulguide, definitely the energy comes to me with that name. So while I was on this WhatsApp group, I looked at the name and I started to get certain vibrations. And then what started to turn up was animals. And I was going,
wow.
I was like, oh, what's this? And I said to a young lady, I said, yeah, I get that you're an eagle. Eagle is a magical bird. It's a bird which indicates that you have special gifts. It's like if you had the dragon. And the eagle allows you to do many things spiritually. And she said, hold on there, EJ. And she sent me a WhatsApp picture of her bedspread that had a brown eagle on it. And so,
wow.
So your animal spirit guides show up. A maximum about 7. You can have a lot, but you will end up being schizophrenic, because these animal spirit guides represent who you are right now. And you know, so for instance, I love hugging. I'm a hugger. So one of my spirit guides is a grizzly bear, and then sometimes a panda. So I'm a bear, and that's where the hugging comes in. I'm also a teacher, so the wolf comes in. So you'll get people that where they are more dominant in their behavior, that would represent a dominant animal spirit guide. Then the animal aspects. Now, the animal aspects, I had to be really careful how I couch this, because what I found was that people started to focus on the animal aspects rather than the animal spirit guides. The animal aspects are possible shadow behavior, shadow self. So, for instance, let's take a tiger. Now, the tiger, if you have the tiger as your animal spirit guide, you're majestic, you are powerful, you are mesmerizing. I mean, if a tiger walks into the room, you'll notice it, right?
Yeah.
If a tiger's leaving the room, you'll notice it. So if you've got, if you're like a Sean Connery, he's definitely a tiger, right? So you will know when this tiger comes in, and tiger also represents success. The aspect of a tiger is, if you got into argument with someone who had the power of a tiger, they will tear you to pieces in an argument. You know, they could be destructive in that way. Now, that's not to suggest that just because
I might have a bit of tiger in me. Yeah.
I have a tabby cat. I leave it with that, yeah. So, you know, it's not that necessarily that means, oh, just because you're a tiger, therefore you're going to rip people to pieces. It is also contextual. So if in the context of somebody, you know, it's like don't poke the bear, basically. You know, bears are lovely. I did a picture, I kind of did an Instagram on a bear, and I said, if you look at this picture and you think this is a cuddly toy, then you've got some problems. So, you know, you don't poke the bear. Don't antagonize somebody who is that kind of person, because they will defend themselves. So, people who are penguins. Now, penguins are lovely. Penguins represent relationships, committed relationships, people who are together, who want to be together for the whole of their lives, or existence. So they want to have a long relationship with each other. And generally, they see the world in black and white. If you had, if your penguin was a baby penguin, and it was grey, that means you see a lot of grey areas, and it's about maturity. If you're a female penguin, then you're normally in charge, and you will just leave the home whenever you want to and come back and not necessarily give any explanation as to why you've left. But certainly, these are the kinds of energy that flows with animal spirit guides and animal aspects and name vibration reading. I did a name vibration reading, and it was astonishing what came through. Interestingly enough, they were a group of people who lived in the United States. And it turned out that as I was doing this name vibration reading, what it allows me to do is see who you were before you came here, depending on the reading. And some of them, I saw who they were before they came here. I saw why they came here. Someone gave me their name, and I said, yeah, I'm not getting anything from this. Do you have another name? Is this a double? They go, how did you know that? I said, well, I get the energy that there's two names. The minute they gave me the second name, boom, it all started coming through. And I ended up connecting to their spirit guides, and in some cases, they're gods. And I did this once with a lady. Normally, it takes me 3 hours to 3 days, depending on the energy. And for 8 days, I couldn't do anything. I just couldn't get through. And when I eventually got through, her guides had told me that they were preparing me for what was to come, which I had no idea. And as I started scribing and writing, because I scribe when I start, because I'm a channeler, so I started channeling all this information. Then this huge, powerful Native American sky god came through. And I was almost blasted off my seat. It was incredible. It was an incredible experience. And it was kind of funny because after I finished and sent off a name vibration reading, all I got was this giggling coming back going, yeah. She was like, yeah. Oh, you met him, did you? I said, yes, I did. Thanks for the warning.
We have our first caller ready. This is Tammy in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Tammy, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hi, I'm
Hello,
going to put you straight through to EJ. Do you have a question for EJ?
Well, it's kind of just seeing what he could pick up.
Oh, wow. Okay. Hello, Tammy. Right, so I'm a permission-based reader, so do I have your permission to tap into your energy?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, what do we get? Okay. Well, the first word that seems to come up for me is separation and distance. Why am I getting separation and distance? Okay. Okay, movement. All right, so I'm just going to say what I feel. I get the sense that there's movement coming. My eyes are closed. Sorry, I'm channeling. I'm getting the sense that there's movement with you, or there's time to move, travel. Separate. What am I getting? Yeah, you want something. What is that? Okay, so I'm getting also withdrawn. It's almost feeling like you've stepped back. It's like you're stepping back. You're feeling isolated. Why am I getting isolation? Hold on, I'm going to take my deck. I need my deck. What am I getting? Ooh. Okay, ooh, there we go. Fourth floor comes to the door. Ah, look at that. Now, this is the card I've got, and it's come up, and it says traveling. So I got movement. It's either that you've traveled a long distance or you've traveled a long... Normally when I get this card, it's sometimes an emotional card. Sometimes it's somebody who has really gone through the wars, or an emotional war, where they have typically had a really strenuous kind of experience, and it's mountainous. That's why it's got the mountains, and they're coming through the other side. Now, anytime I see this card, this tells me that they are, you're experiencing something that at the end of the day, you wish that you didn't go through this. But I'm getting that this is really important in part of who you want to be. I get, a tension and stress, having to always fight, having to always make the decisions, be in charge, taking care of things. And, I'm getting that you need to sit back or at least let someone take care of you.
Right.
What else am I getting? Okay. Wow. You're a warrior. I get the warrior energy with you. It's almost like a woman who's always having to take control and be in charge. And that kind of distance was like an escape. It's kind of trying to come out of these issues. It is. I get that you're going to need to make some changes about who is around you, and who you speak to, and being understood. It's almost like you're always having to prove who you are, make out who you are, say, oh wow, this is quite interesting. It's like nobody listens to you. I get the sense that you're not really listened to, but you're always right. I used to have this experience because I'm the youngest in my family when I was growing up. And I used to watch what everybody used to do. And I used to say stuff, and nobody ever listened to what I said until things happened, and suddenly you got, yeah, okay, well, he was right, but we will claim it for ourselves. You're very, I'm getting that you yourself, I won't be surprised if I get a sense you've got the gift, very clairvoyant, very spiritual, know stuff, yeah, I'm getting stuff, it's almost like you can do this work that I do, and do readings. It is, okay, I get the word Reiki has jumped up in front of me, healing has jumped up, mediumship has jumped up. You have a lot of gifts. You have a lot of gifts. And these gifts... Okay. Right, okay. All right, yeah, sorry, I'll have to talk to my guy. Can you put it in English, please, in a way I can describe? Thank you. Okay. You can do this work. I think you're doing this work. I think you're a reader. I get the sense that you're already doing this work. And you're very powerful. You're very powerful with this thing and very accurate when you do your work.
Ejay, I'm going to have to,
yes.
We're going to have to kind of wrap this up because we're nearly at the end of the show. I hope, Tammy, that made sense for you. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Ejay, if people want to get hold of you, how can they do that?
Oh, right. So you can get hold of me on www.hspractice.co.uk, or you can email me on info@hspractice.co.uk.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, Ejay. Thank you so much.
The
Thank
divine
you
in me
so
embraces the divine in you.
And hopefully we'll get you back again very, very soon.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure our listeners have absolutely loved the show tonight. Okay, so we're going to leave it there. I'm just going to remind everybody that they can get through to me on my website, which is www.modern-mystic.co.uk.